The door to my office was almost closed. Almost. A thin blade of light cut across the hallway carpet, and through it came her laugh. Soft, intimate, the kind she used to save for me, when the world was asleep and her guard was down. I stopped walking. Didn't breathe. My name was etched in steel beside the door. My company, my floor. My keycard access only, yet their shadows moved freely across the glass wall inside, merging, separating, leaning close again. His voice followed, low, confident, a board member's voice, a man who shook my hand every morning and called me brother. He won't see it coming, he said. Another laugh. Hers this time, quieter, nervous. My fiancée. My pulse didn't spike, it slowed. Each beat heavy, measured, as if my body understood. Something my heart hadn't caught up to yet. I stepped closer. The carpet swallowed the sound. Words slipped through the gap. After the transfer clears, we pivot the shares. He'll sign anything you put in front of him. Silence. Then her voice. A whisper. He trusts me. Not guilt, not hesitation, pride. Something inside me folded neatly in half. No shattering. No explosion. Just a clean surgical cut. I backed away from the door before they could open it. Before my reflection betrayed me in the glass. I walked down the hall with the same steady rhythm I used in investor meetings. Calm, professional, dead. In the elevator mirror, I studied my face. No cracks, no tremor, just a man going home from work. Only my eyes had changed. They looked like they were already planning a funeral. That night she slept with her head on my chest. Her fingers traced lazy circles over my shirt, the engagement ring catching the dim light. A promise forged in platinum, a lie wrapped in diamonds. You're quiet, she murmured. Long day, I said. 2 words, perfectly balanced. Not too short, not suspicious. Inside, I replayed the office scene frame by frame, her posture leaning toward him, the way she guarded her phone when we brushed hands, the sudden interest in corporate language she'd never cared about before. Shares, transfers, pivots. She'd been studying my world. Not to join it, to gut it. I remembered the documents she'd asked me to review last week. Harmless revisions, she'd called them. Just restructuring. I'd signed while answering emails, trusting her summary, trusting her. A slow nausea crept up my spine. I slid out of bed carefully, replacing my chest with a pillow. She sighed and curled around it, satisfied with the illusion. I stood in the doorway and watched her sleep. The woman I loved. The woman rehearsing my collapse. My phone vibrated in my hand. A late notification from accounting. A flagged irregularity, minor, easy to ignore. I opened the file. Numbers lined up like obedient soldiers except for one column. Funds rerouted through a shell subsidiary I didn't recognize. Authorized by my digital signature? My signature. I stared at it until the shape of my name felt foreign, a stranger's handwriting wearing my face. In the bedroom, she turned over and whispered something in her sleep. His name. Not loud, not dramatic. Just enough. The final thread snapped quietly. No scene, no tears. Only clarity. I closed the file and began to count. I didn't confront her. I kissed her goodbye the next morning. I made coffee. I asked about wedding flowers. Every movement precise. A performance so perfect it frightened even me. At the office, I became a ghost in my own company. I stopped giving orders. I started listening. Meetings I once dominated, I let them talk. I watched who looked at whom before answering. Who hesitated when finances came up. Patterns surfaced. Late-night logins from her laptop. Board approvals pushed through during my flights. A quiet coalition forming behind polite smiles. I hired an external forensic auditor under a false name. Paid in cash. No paper trail. I wanted truth that couldn't be negotiated. Days passed. I collected screenshots, transfer receipts, voice recordings from my own conference room. I sat in the dark after hours, headphones on, hearing them dissect me like a business problem. He's sentimental, the board member said. That's his weakness. She didn't defend me. She agreed. Each word landed gently, like snow covering a grave. At home, she planned our honeymoon, showed me villas on her tablet. I nodded at beaches while reading bank statements reflected in her eyes. My anger never spiked. It condensed. Became dense, heavy, useful. I restructured quietly. Moved assets into protected trusts. Triggered clauses buried deep in contracts. I'd written years ago for emergencies. I never thought I'd need. Every legal trap sealed with my signature, invisible to anyone not looking for it. They thought they were bleeding me. I was draining the room. The auditor's report arrived in a plain envelope. No logo, no return address. I opened it at my desk while the office buzzed outside. Pages of evidence, timelines, wire transfers. Conspiracy mapped with clinical precision. They hadn't just planned to take my company. They'd already sold it. Conditional agreements, offshore buyers. My fiancé listed as acting executive after my voluntary resignation. A future drafted without me. I called a board meeting. They filed in confident, relaxed. She sat beside him, knee brushing his under the table. They didn't notice I slid the envelope across the polished wood. "Before we start," I said, "a quick clarification." He opened it. His smile faded by degrees. Color drained from his face like ink in water. She leaned over his shoulder, reading. Her hand began to shake. "This is," he started. "Complete," I said softly. Silence swallowed the room. The air thickened. She looked at me. Really looked. Searching for rage, for hurt, for something human to bargain with. I gave her nothing. Just patience. The most terrifying thing in the world. I triggered Clause 17 this morning, I continued. Contingency protocol for executive betrayal. Confusion flickered. I tapped the table. Legal counsel entered with a stack of folders. My folders. Already signed. All board assets are frozen pending investigation. Personal accounts included. Every transaction tied to the shell companies is now evidence. Chairs scraped. Voices rose. He stood. "You can't." I already did. My gaze moved to her. She looked smaller. The architect of my ruin reduced to a woman clutching paper with trembling fingers. "The shares you pivoted," I said gently, "revert to the founder under fraud statutes." "That's me." The room collapsed into chaos. Accusations, panic, phones that suddenly had no signal. I stood. She whispered my name, a plea, a memory. I leaned close enough that only she could hear. "You were right," I said. "I trust you." A pause. "Trusted you to show me exactly who you are." I straightened my jacket and walked out while security walked in. The city looked different from the top floor that evening. Cleaner, as if a storm had passed and taken the rot with it. My phone filled with messages I didn't read. Lawyers, journalists, her name flashing again. And again until the screen dimmed. I felt light, not happy, not relieved, untethered. I thought about the wedding invitations stacked in our apartment. The life we'd drafted together like a contract neither intended to honor. I pictured her sitting in a frozen office, future evaporating in real time. No triumph surged. Only balance restored. I poured a drink and watched the sun sink between buildings I owned again, fully. Every brick paid for with years she tried to steal in months. I didn't hate her. Hate requires heat, and I was cold now. Perfectly, beautifully cold. I turned off my phone. Let the silence seal. Some betrayals don't break you. They introduce you to the version of yourself that no longer needs anyone at all. And I decided I preferred him.